what goes in textbooks doesn't always work when you apply it to life. And I just felt that due to the fact that I had both of these things, I had science-backed education plus real life experience, that it was a great opportunity for me to bring these together so that I could really make a difference, hopefully to other people.
You're listening to Elevate, the official podcast of Elite Agent for real estate industry sales professionals, property managers and leaders. We're proud to present Courageous Conversations, a podcast series focusing on the tough decisions people have made to put themselves on a pathway to success. This episode is brought to you by Connect Now, who makes the business of moving easier for both you and your clients. For more information, visit connectnow.com.au. Please welcome your host, Leanne Pilkington.
Hey everyone, Leanne Pilkington here for the latest edition of Courageous Conversations, and I am so excited to welcome Heidi Dening to the podcast. Hey Heidi, how are you?
I'm great, Leanne. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks so much for taking the time. I know how much you've got on at the moment, so I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
So some of you REI members might recognise Heidi as the wonderful speaker that we had on resilience webinar just recently. But Heidi and I have known each other for, we can't remember actually, 2017, 2018. We were both randomly learning to samba dance with our friend Louise, our mutual friend Louise, who's the marketing manager at REI. And we ended up, believe it or not, dancing at Mardi Gras, didn't we, Heidi?
We did. We were in fishnets and feathers, and I would never have thought that that would be something I'd do in my life. But there we were, Leanne, together doing that.
We were. But what I didn't know at the time was you were recovering from quite a significant trauma and chose to learn how to samba as a way through it, which I would love to understand. Why did you choose samba dancing?
That's a good question. I was trying to put a bit more joy into my life because I had gone through, I'd survived a violent crime. I had been leading a team overseas. I had a not-for-profit over in Vanuatu. We did girls empowerment programs and literacy programs for 13 years. And I was leading a team over there where we got caught up in some cultural conflict that had nothing to do with us. But the people who had very strong messages to give to others thought that they would get their message across if they harmed us because of the impact we were making in that community. And so on our second night of this particular volunteer mission, we were all asleep, and I woke to a loud noise, which I later found out to be the first petrol bomb that had been thrown at my bedroom. So, I kind of woke up with this noise, and, when you're coming out of sleep and you don't know what's real or not, and I could just see smoke in my room. I still wasn't sure if it was real, but then I could smell it, of course, jumped up, and there was just ferocious flames outside my window. And I saw a group of men running away with these big sticks of fire that they had gone around and been lit up the whole place. I ran out of the building and started just bashing on everyone's doors to get up, get out.
How many people were in the house at the time?
We're all in like separate rooms. It was kind of a, little thatched roofed bungalows, which is not great, with fire, of course, and some other areas, other kind of room type things. So there was 21 of us, 21 of the team. Just sprinting around, dodging, like there was just these big balls of fire coming off the roof. Firstly, in shock, like, I mean, this country has been voted the happiest people on earth time and time again. I mean, we've been reading stories to children by day and drinking cocktails out of coconuts at night. Like, how on earth are we in the middle of this nightmare? Absolute nightmare. And anyway, got everyone out, thankfully, so that no one was majorly harmed. There were a number of injuries, including my own, but we spent a pretty scary night huddled together on the kind of hill across from where we were staying, watching the whole thing burn down pretty much, because they had put, they'd petrol bombed our vehicles so we couldn't get away. You're on a remote tropical island. There's no 000 to call.
Yeah. So you didn't really know whether they were coming back to harm you, I guess.
They did come back to try and harm us. Thankfully, some of the people in the village had obviously woken to what was going on, and they protected us from them. I was able to contact a friend of mine in Port Vila who got onto the Australian Embassy. So all night they were really amazing, keeping in check and trying to get the local police to come and protect us. But what we later found out was that the local police had in fact incited these men to do what they did. So they were not helpful at all. And then the Australian Embassy sent in 2 small planes the next day to evacuate us because of the situation. But it was a very, very traumatic night, and very traumatic, for lots of reasons. I mean, there were physical injuries. I broke a bone in my foot from running around trying to get everyone out. Because I had been the first one to have the petrol bomb in my room, they weren't sure how long I was actually breathing in the there was a car bombed outside my room as well, and so I had lung damage from that. But it's interesting, Leanne, like people post-event, for weeks, months, it took me a good 18 months to get over it, really, because of all the betrayals and loss. But people would ask always about the physical scars, the physical things that went on, but they were nothing compared to what was going on internally for me.
No.
And
just, I guess, I mean, I don't know very much about the project that you were working on in Vanuatu, but I guess just being ripped out of that with no notice as well would have been traumatic on its own without the crime.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this was something that was probably one of the most important things in my life, doing what I was doing over there. Like, we built a library for the community. Literacy levels were really low, so we were trying to give children opportunities that they would never get through literacy. I'd never been able to have children, and people ask you daily if you've got children. And at the time,
people still say to me, "Oh, it's not too late." It's like, no, it really, truly is.
It really is.
Yeah, more than a decade.
Yeah, that's right. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
But I would always, it can always be tricky, because people either make their own judgment that you've either been a career woman, so you're so harsh that you don't want to prioritize children over your career.
Shallow.
Or you get this look of pity. So it's always this tricky answer. But I always had an answer of, no, I don't have my own children, but I've got 250 children that I support in Vanuatu. And it just was a beautiful segue out of that tricky conversation into something really positive. And then I didn't have that either. And there was just that whole purpose part of my life that I loved it. I worked so hard for it. And
you couldn't go back.
I couldn't go back, because how am I supposed to look a volunteer in the eye and say, yeah, of course I know it's safe?
No.
Because we'd asked that beforehand. There had been cultural problems going on, but they had nothing to do with us. So I kept saying to people over there, will it be okay to come? They're like, yeah, of course it'll be okay. It's got nothing to do with you.
So learning to samba was all about finding joy. Talk me through how you processed and got to that stage.
Yeah, I suffered terribly with PTSD and crippling insomnia, complete, stress, emotional burnout, all of that, sadness, grief, loss, betrayal. And it got to a point where I needed to turn the feelings of rage that I still had, because the people who actually threw the petrol bombs have never been convicted. And that's always a really hard thing. And, I had a lot of rage for a long time about that. And it got so bad, in fact, that I had internalized my rage to a point where I'd started feeling quite ill internally, a lot of nausea, a lot of pain. I couldn't even go for walks. The pain was so bad. did every test under the sun. Everything came back. You're fine. You're healthy. They finally went in to have some, just have a look surgery-wise, and found that I had stage 4 endometriosis, which is the worst stage on five of my organs. My appendix was so rotted they had to remove it at the time, and I was just like, that is it. I have to turn this story of rage into a story of resilience. And what have I learned from that? And what do I need to do that I can teach what I've learned to others about how to get through challenging times? Hopefully not petrol bombs at you.
No.
But
the metaphoric petrol bomb, right?
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is if I get myself out of this, dark hole that I'm in. And what do I need to do?
Wow. So it was really a conscious decision, right? This is actually killing me. This rage is killing me.
It's killing me. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'd hit, I was at the bottom of the barrel. So I knew that there hadn't been a smile on my face for quite a while. And it just, I did a lot of reading, of course. I was getting help through somebody who deals with people who've had trauma. And what I realized is I needed to put some joy back into my life. I needed to have some fun. I needed some fun. Like, what's fun for me? And I've always loved to dance. I've always loved to dance. I'm a daggy dancer. Doesn't matter to me. I just love to move, put on the music, crank it up, get my groove on. Yeah. And I know you do that.
I certainly do. Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night, Heidi. It's dance party night at my house.
Oh, my gosh. I love it so much. Do you ever put your fishnets and feathers on Wednesday night, party night, Leanne?
Never occurred to me, but now that you've mentioned it, maybe I just will. I'll pull them out. I will pull them out. Oh, that's frightening.
Yeah. When I was looking at that photo of us when we were chatting before, I was like, oh, there's been a few COVID kilos since that outfit.
Yeah, I'll have to find the photo and share it for everybody so that, I think we can embarrass Louise as well, right?
We definitely can, since she convinced us to do it.
And so did it help? Did the samba dance?
Oh my God.
You looked like you were having fun. I know I was having fun.
I had so much fun. And so there was a few things in that, right? There was connection. I got to connect weekly as we practiced, in our weekly class. Yeah. So that's so important when you're feeling really bad, that you connect with people. Yeah. And that coming together as a group, and especially, with you, we'd never done samba. We were had no idea what we were doing. It took me about 8 months to get that basic step.
It's so bloody hard. I know. What a stupid dance to try and learn. Heidi, was it important to you that you were connecting with people who didn't know your story? So there was no need to tell that story?
Absolutely, Leanne. Yeah. Louise knew it, and that was it. And because I didn't want, because people, of course, ask you. Yeah. And I wanted to start the new, fresh me, which was in that time, I want to be filled with joy. I want to do something new. I want to connect with new people who are not going to judge me or pity me or anything like that. Yeah, without doubt.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense. I'm not sure it needed to culminate with dancing at Mardi Gras, but wow, what a once in a lifetime experience, right?
Oh gosh, it truly was. I still just go, oh my God, I did that. That's just the best.
Oh, I can still remember the feeling of dancing down Oxford Street. And it was so funny because Louise and some of the other experienced dancers were kind of going down the edge of the crowd and playing up to them. And I was in the middle. It's staying as far away from people as I possibly could. Oh, it's so funny.
Well, and then because of the outfits being where they were, I don't know if you remember, they said, don't have anything to drink beforehand because if you have to wee, you'll be in big trouble. But I went into that pub we were waiting on and I had a shot of vodka because I was so nervous. I'm shaking in my stilettos here.
It's a crazy, crazy thing to do. Anyway.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And so you're now an international speaker. You were awarded International Speaker of the Year just recently, which is phenomenal. And I can see why after being part of your session. How did you kind of get from there to here?
Well, I had no plan. I've got to tell you, I had.
That's good. That makes me feel better. Yeah.
So that incident happened in 2015. That was in the August of 2015. And in the March of that year, only 5 months before, I'd sold my business that I'd had for 17 years prior.
Okay.
The plan had been to just take a break for a year, so there was no plan. And but anyway, as you know, when you've had a business and you're a bit of an entrepreneur and you're quite creative, which I am, things start to bubble away, and I kept thinking about what I wanted to do next. And I think, you know, when I just felt like I had a really important message to share, I suppose. And coming from an education and health background, I already had the science backed of the kind of research around stress and burnout and resilience and challenging times and how to get yourself out of it. I knew the science, but of course, what goes in textbooks doesn't always work when you apply it to life. And I just felt that due to the fact that I had both of these things, I had science-backed education plus real life experience, that it was a great opportunity for me to bring these together so that I could really make a difference, hopefully to other people, by sharing the way the formulas that I had used on my, you know, trial and error of what has worked. And, you know, it's really interesting that what I created, you know, going back last year when, as a speaker in the speaking industry, where there's just, you know, 90% of my bookings were for whole of 2020, I lost in 3 days. Cancelled, gone. You know, hitting not rock bottom like after that, not after the petrol bombs, but, you know, it's pretty low, it's pretty wobbly. And
yeah, it's like, I guess you had the opportunity to put into action all the things you've been talking about, right?
Correct. I had to practice what I preach again, which, you know, I kind of do, but on a really big scale of as I felt myself spiraling down again. All right, I know what to do. I don't want to get to rock bottom. I do not want to try to dig myself out of there again, because that is bloody hard. So start putting the things in place now to make sure that doesn't happen. And
you call that your resilience bucket?
My resilience bucket formula, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So what did you, when you sort of felt yourself spiraling, 90% of your income and your purpose had been sort of torn away from you again, what did you do? What is your resilience bucket formula?
Yeah, there's 5 parts to it, and yeah, some parts work better at different times than others. So I say this generally to your listeners, that not everything might resonate, but if just one thing does, it can be really, really helpful. I always like to say, you know, one little micro change can have such a big impact on our lives. So the first one was to be still. You know, the goal is for 10 minutes a day, which is only 0.7% of our day, by the way. And I know where we're all scrambling right now with, you know, full inboxes, long to-do lists, voicemail messages that from 3 days ago we still haven't returned.
Yeah.
I know within the real estate industry especially, like, you're just overwhelmed with the amount of work that is going on, and people are really struggling. But if you can just carve out 10 minutes to not sit on the top of a mountain and cross your legs and say, no, you don't need to do that. You can sit and pat the dog, you know, just sit and pat the dog. Stand at the window with your cup of tea and just look out at a tree. You know, you just have a bit of a break, because we know that our brain is a muscle, and when we overwork it, just like any muscle in our body, it can't perform as well. And when we are exhausted and tired, like everyone is right now, we need to have those little mini breaks, micro breaks, as I call them. The next one is the joy part again. You know, I say that we want to be happy about something every day, of course, but we need to actually put in scheduled joy. And this is where, when I learned Samba, Leanne, this particular part came from. I was scheduling in joy every week for 1 hour when we met in the hall to learn how to do Samba. And if I hadn't scheduled it into my calendar, it would not have happened. Not a chance. So we must schedule in joy. What is that right now for everybody? You know, what is it that brings a smile to your face and where can you put it into your calendar? Put it in.
Yep.
It's your joy hour.
Yeah.
The third one is to chill out. And I think, this is what we all need now. And I certainly back then, last year, right now, just to take the time to chill out. Like, have a sleep in on the weekend if you can. Stay in your gym jams for an extra hour. Read a good book. Just binge on Netflix or Stan or iView, whatever you need. But everyone's scrambling, working so hard. If we don't rest, if we don't invest in rest, then we're no good to anybody. We're really not. And that's one big thing I learned, that even though I felt like I lost everything in my scramble to try to rebuild a business last year, in my scramble to try to rebuild my life after the petrol bombs, it was really easy to forget about resting, because when you're trying to get back something, you don't think you can gift it to yourself. It's like, I don't have time to take time out.
Yeah.
I've got to adapt my business. I've got to.
And I'm okay. Yeah, I can handle it. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then until you're not, right?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
The fourth one is to live life. And I know in these times that's really hard, because most of the things we like to live life about, which is often to do with travel and going to other places and seeing other cultures and meeting other people, we can't do. But all I say right now is, do the plan. Because sometimes it's really lovely to just plan what it'll be once we can. But, in normal times, living life is, taking those long weekends and absolutely taking them, going somewhere, even if it's to another suburb in your city that you've never been to, but just really live life. Don't Marie Kondo your house for 3 days. Like, that doesn't need to happen.
Too much of my stuff sparks joy anyway, so I can't throw it out. So it doesn't work for me.
Exactly. But the final part, and then, I've already spoken about why learning Samba was so important, is the whole connection piece.
Yeah.
And, connecting with others who can put a smile on your face and some warmth in your heart and just make you feel good. I think we've learned over this last year or so that connection piece is more important now than we've known it ever to be. And
for sure.
I certainly know for me that has been absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I'm trying to, because I connect with people all day, every day, right? I'm always on Zoom or on the phone, but I have been making a concerted effort to connect with people who I wouldn't normally call, who I know must be struggling. So, my hairdresser and my where I buy my clothes and those people whose businesses have been decimated, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, good on you, Leanne. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so important, because they're forgotten. They're forgotten.
Yeah, they really are, until we try and get an appointment.
Yeah, well, that's what you're really doing, aren't you? That you're the top of the list for the hairdresser.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know.
Good
my
point.
hair has never been so long.
Good point. Well, look at that. That's disgusting.
Oh, it's crazy, right? That's the joy of being a brunette, let me tell you. I just buy a packet at the supermarket. Although I tend to buy a different packet every time, so I never know what colour my hair's going to end up.
Well, I keep saying, everyone can have all the toilet paper they want, but I'm hoarding dry shampoo at the moment, and that's exact. I'm getting every time I go to the supermarket, I buy another bottle just in case.
Just in case.
It's longer than I expect.
Oh, that's hilarious. So talk to me about what your business is like now. You're obviously, COVID hit last year and then it's hit again. So, but a lot of people have transitioned to this kind of conversation, right? A Zoom kind of conversation. How's that going?
Yeah, it's actually going really well. In fact, again, last year went down, then it was amazing. And then, of course, so many events booked again, because everyone was going to events. Everyone was desperate to get in a room for conferences again.
Massively, yeah.
But of course, that all went, and I decided that I was going to do one last pirouette. I decided I wasn't going to use that other P word. I'm going to do a pirouette.
Oh, I like that. That's better.
Yes.
That's way better than that other P word.
It is way better. And so what I did was I collated everything that I knew. That I'd been doing a lot of, kind of virtual things over the last year. What was it that was really resonating with people? What is it that's right for this business environment right now that people need. And I've collated it into a program called a Resilience Recharge Program. And it's either 3 or 5 bite-sized sessions of 30 minutes that I do with leaders and their teams, either on a weekly or fortnightly, or monthly if they want, but fortnightly is really great.
It's better, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just really to help people be able to create a resilience development plan that is right for their specific life, with all the responsibilities and challenges that they have across personal world and professional world.
Because resilience is really it's something that I've noticed and I don't want to sound old when I say this, but young people of today are not as resilient as potentially we were. And it's because our generation of parents want to fix everything, right? They want their kids, everything to be beautiful and wonderful for their kids. But when those kids get further into their life, everything is not beautiful and wonderful, and you have to be able to be resilient.
You do. And it's interesting, from all generations. I, in fact, last year, Weekend Today, Channel 7's Weekend Today, I did a segment with them in regards to this about how our older generation to us are even far more resilient. They've gone through wars. I had one lady who we interviewed, she'd escaped Hitler and from Poland. Wow. And, so resilience is all about going through challenging times, learning from whatever has gone on, adapting it to the new challenges, which, we don't even know what they are, but they keep coming at us. Yeah. So we can continue to move forward. And I think, that people keep talking about resilience is, you're resilient if you can bounce back. Well, I don't believe that's true. I believe resilience is about learning something from our challenges so we can bounce forward.
Yeah,
so
nice.
we can do it better next time, so we can have more confidence, that we can cope more. So I suppose with the younger generation, if they haven't already been able to grow their resilience muscle because they haven't had tough things to go through, they just haven't had the opportunity. But this is certainly giving them that, because
massively.
Yeah, it's a hard lesson to learn real quick.
Yeah, it's so true. I absolutely love the work that you do. If anybody who's watching wants to actually see more of you, where can they find you?
I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, so you can see me there at Heidi Dening. You can see my name spelt with one N with Dening there, or HeidiDening.com is my website. And I've got lots of free resources there, and different programs and keynotes that I do virtually and on stage. So that'd be great. I'd love, reach out, let me know how you're going, how your resilience is. In fact, there is a quiz, Leanne, on my website that people might like to take just to see how these really overwhelming and uncertain times are impacting them. And it's 3 minutes online, and you'll get a score. And perhaps if you put into action one of the strategies that we talk about today, you might be able to budge that score in 3 or 4 weeks. So that's always nice to be able to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. I'll get the team to put all that information into the show notes, and I'll make a note myself to send that link out to my team and get them to do that quiz. So thank you so much. It's always lovely to catch up with you, even if there are no feathers in sight.
I know, but I put out the special Cecil the Lion as a symbol of courage because of your wonderful name of your podcast, Leanne.
Oh, that's exactly right. And your book, your middle name is Courage. Her middle name is Courage. So, yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of connections going on.
There sure is.
All right. Thanks again for your time. I so appreciate it.
My pleasure, Leanne.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Courageous Conversations, with thanks to connectnow.com.au. Don't forget to get access to all of Elite Agency's premium resources, including a detailed episode guide for this podcast. Visit joineliteagent.com.